Hi everyone again, this is J.S. Bray with Mr. Bray Labs, and so today we actually are going to switch things up this Monday with another episode of Whatever Happened to the Night Crew. We'll continue our Inklings Behind the Scenes. It's just a very busy day with many things going on, and I actually want to take another time, just a detour, because my goal is to re-release the Night Crew pilot episode on multiple streaming platforms very, very shortly. And it's been sort of my I apologize, a bit sort of a overpromise, under-deliver on this, because I'd meant to release this 4K back in June, and then like many things, sometimes my eyes are bigger than my stomach, so I caught into a couple different snags when I was trying to edit this out into 4K. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, specifically, the Night Crew. I want to share you a little bit of the inspiration. So I wrote this script called Calamari Conflict, and it was about a series called The Night Crew, kind of a pixel art inspired animation. And because I grew up in the 80s, I'm an 80s kid. I loved video games. I really loved really loved just nerdy sci-fi stuff. As I've gotten older, tastes do change, but I think sometimes it changes because you get older, you have sort of less time to yourself. But I'm saying this because, look at something retrospect. The Night Crew was this film that, it kind of like all things, it kind of emerged from my own fanboyism. I fell in love with animation when I was very young, and then I took one sort of enjoyment like I had in a show called Futurama, which like all things, TV shows are not, they're not pillars, they're just parts of pop culture, and I used to really enjoy watching Futurama. I've recently heard that they've dropped a new season. All things, they kind of change, when the writers change, my taste for it kind of changed, but also I could be a different person as I'm watching it now. But the reason why I'm saying is that, looking back, creating this short film called The Night Crew, and the idea was to release a whole season of it, and just kind of pour myself into it. I thought I was going to be doing a great deal of my life would be consumed by actually creating this show. And what happened to The Night Crew was, I failed at it. And that's sort of the beautiful thing about when you look at older work. I made this film for my college thesis. So, when you were in art school, specifically animation, you're supposed to put together all your work together in some sort of portfolio piece. And I created this film as a portfolio piece, but also it was really something I wanted to see. I wanted to see a nerdy TV show that explored the lives of janitors on a starship. And I wanted this far before there was Lower Decks, far before there was a lot of other people that came up with this idea. And this is not saying that just because my idea was original that it was going to land. It's just that I came up with this because a long time ago, I was a janitor. I was a janitor at a church. And I remember doing a lot of janitorial services throughout my life. So the inspiration for these characters was straight from my own life. The perpetual man-boy character, the main character, his name is Joe, and Joe is really Joe Everybody. It's similar to the Fry character, the orange-haired Fry character in Futurama. I could identify with that. So I'm just kind of a slacker, someone who just hasn't quite matured yet into adulthood. And that's really where, I took a great deal of inspiration from real life there. But it wasn't friction. It wasn't like this, great trial of suffering that I had to endure. Being a janitor when you work night shifts is kind of a mundane job. You get home, and I'd get home from work. And as I'd get home from work, I'd put on cartoons, because they had cartoons that showed up late at night, and I would watch, my favorite TV shows. And, one of my favorite TV shows were usually science fiction based, and Futurama was a show that I really enjoyed, but so was Star Trek, or at least Star Trek adjacent stuff. And I really liked Smallville. These are all little things that I enjoyed watching. I enjoyed these television shows. And when my first version of the Night Crew, when I dropped it, had a soundtrack. It had a laugh track, and there was sort of mixed opinions about it. When I put it out there, there's a great number of people who dislike sitcoms because of the laugh track. And as I've gotten older, I don't necessarily have an affinity for laugh tracks. I feel that laugh tracks are a bit of thing of the past. But I've watched a lot of shows that had laugh tracks. Some of my favorite shows. But the reason why I wanted to put this in 4K is that, I thought, well, why not? Why not re-release it? There's a lot more streaming platforms that will take it. It's a lot easier to get things out there. And it also gives me an opportunity to kind of share some of my own art and failures. Because I believe that failures are a big part of what defines us. Successes are sort of like the thing that ends up blinding you from creating more, more risky decisions. When you make a decision and it falls on its face, especially if you make a risk involved, it teaches you something. It might teach you to be more cautious. It might teach you to be overall, it might teach you the lessons you learn, or might have been naivety. But I actually think that your failures, if there could be a collection of failures in your life, that those failures are deeply defining. Some of the things that I have failed in my life have truly helped me in such a profound sense. Some of the things that have driven me deeper into my faith, into my relationships, into my understanding of the world around me, into some sort of small-mindedness that I may have had at many points in my life. And my goodness, I feel that if, looking at an old project like the Night Crew, and that's why I want to talk about whatever happened to the Night Crew, is that this project is a point in time. It's a window in history. And I'm of the opinion that that's a beautiful thing about artwork, is that artwork has the opportunity to kind of just give you a window in history. It sort of lives in space and time, and it allows you to see things from a point of view. And artwork is kind of beautiful in the sense that it's not necessarily a single note. When you create an animation that takes up a large amount of your time, you go for the whole creative process, the ups and downs. I worked with one of my professors. Well, actually, he was my mentor during the time that I was writing this script. His name was Robin Ader, and he was I think he's still around. He's a really talented storyboard artist, and he had actually worked on Star Trek. And I was just so enamored with the fact that I was creating a show that was an homage to Star Trek, and the person who was my mentor, his uncle had written I believe the Salt Vampire episode. And if you're familiar with Star Trek, it's crazy. It's this lady who basically turns someone into a human juice box because the salt in their body, she's craving it. It's goofy. It's goofy. It's out there. But I really, really enjoyed that creative process, and my goodness, did I get a great deal of enjoyment putting this project together. So as we're going, my goal is this week. This is Lord willing. This week I want to release the Night Crew in 4K. And I want to put it on multiple platforms, including Tubi and Prime and a few others. But ultimately we'll just see how it goes. I want to just take today and let you know. Today I'm working on some nostalgic artwork. And that's not because the Inklings doesn't matter, but I need a necessary break as I'm doing some scheduling for voice actors, and also need to connect with other folks. So I'm hoping to bring in more interviews soon. More content for you folks who are just hungry for more. And I just pray you're doing well. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being part of this community. Please keep your eyes out for the Night Crew 4K coming out, along with the commentary and podcast talking about what's happening in the Night Crew. You all have an absolute blessed day. You take care.